Hey guys, welcome back to this week's episode of my podcast, Reel It In. I'm Isabel, and today we have our special guest, Connor, back with us.
I'm back.
He's back. He did his finals.
Still waiting on my grades, except for one of them.
Well, I'm sure you did awesome.
I sure hope so.
All right, so today we're going to talk about the latest chapter of Mando, and at the end, basically, what's next for all the fandoms, because Disney had their investor day. So, but, Mando first. So there's only one more episode of the season 2 for Mando, and then we'll have to wait for season 3 if they have one.
They do.
They do?
Yeah,
Good.
they had it greenlit a while ago, and they started at least writing it, I think.
Good. So the first thing we really see, or at least that caught my attention, is that Boba Fett, he got his armor spruced up.
And my boy looking fresh.
He's fresh. He's green. He's fresh. I feel like that wasn't really necessary, though, for him.
Well, I mean, it's an aesthetic choice, I think. And, like, a lot of people have been asking, like, that question, like, why would he do it now? Why didn't he do it when he was, in his prime? Well, he was in his prime, so he's constantly getting it, like, messed up. But at some point, he did paint it like that. And then they just never touched it again. So I feel like it was just, like, opportunity.
Maybe.
I also feel like chillaxed.
I also feel like it might give him, like, he might be like a main character in the next season.
We'll see.
So I'll go back to that later on how I feel about that. But and a lot of people were worried that Mando did not get his jetpack back, but he did. So I saw it. He has it on his back. And he has his gun and his Beskar staff. Because people were worried that, like, how is he going to hold his own against Moff Gideon if only he had the Beskar staff and, like, his armor, of course. But yeah. So he has everything that he needs, basically. So I have a lot of questions about how season is going. Why do we keep going to different planets? Like, is there really a need? I feel like we're just hopping from one place to the other, and I feel like
we're nomads.
Yeah, and I just kind of feel like...
Or no, we're not nomads. Are we?
No.
Nomads stay in one place, right?
Nomads move around.
No, we're nomads. I promise you I have an IQ over 40.
Over 40. It just kind of feels like this show has turned into like a wild goose chase, and I'm not really here for it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, like last season, we spent almost all of it on Navarro. And while, like, there's a lot more going on in this season, the kind of it being on one planet, or at least, like, circling back there as, like, home base, like, I feel like we don't have a home base this season.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make it feel as grounded. And then the structure of it, some of the pacing is really not my cup of coffee. I mean, that being said, I like things to be, like, fairly fast paced, but also to make sense and have, like, depth. Mm-hmm. But a lot of this kind of drags out.
Yeah, and also, like, when he goes to those planets, he's not really fulfilling, like, what he has to do to get there, because he gets there and then he thinks he finds what he needs to, and then they're like, oh no, actually you have to go here. Then he goes there and he's like, well, actually something happened, so now you have to go here. And I'm like, what are you doing?
It's kind of like a video game. Like, they do that in video games sometimes, and it just drives people nuts.
Yeah, I know the Wii version of The Force Unleashed, when it was canon, it was a lot of planet hopping.
Yeah.
But you went back to those planets. Like, it wasn't just here and then a new one. Like, you went back to the same planets.
Yeah. So. And so, like, the Wii version of The Force Unleashed, just, I'm going to keep it very brief, I promise. That was based off of the book a little more, so, like, they had a little more room to explore some of that story, whereas, like, the other one, you have all this other stuff with, like, graphics and actual gameplay, and there was a whole lot of stuff that was cut, which is why it also seems so short. But, like, if you read the book, like, a lot of the stuff in the Wii version is there. So the Jedi Temple, in a way, is almost like home base.
Yeah.
The Rogue Shadow is home base. So it's that kind of structure that I think and groundedness that has been lacking in this season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So in this chapter, they have to go to
Morag is Marvel.
Yeah, so they have to go to Morak.
Which had me real confused for a second. I went, wait.
Yeah, and this is one of the things like we can't just go straight here. We have to go to this other planet to get something, and they have to get Moff Gideon's location from basically the Empire data system. And so we have this conversation between Mayfeld and Mando. And I think Mayfeld makes a pretty good point. Like, I think this is the first time, Mando himself is questioning, like, what is the creed for Mandalorians? Is it, like Mayfeld said, is it just simply taking off a Mandalorian helmet, or is it actually showing your face to someone?
Yeah. And I think at this point too, especially, like, is it worth it? Like, it seems very open to interpretation, and it kind of, like, after sitting on it, threw me for a loop a little bit, like with the whole interaction with Bo-Katan. She was like, "You were a child of the Watch," and it's like, so that had to have been like an extremist group, because like the Death Watch, like I mentioned a few episodes back, they still took off their helmets, like they still had like very intimate, like face to face. So this had to have been like a completely different branch, but it seems very open to interpretation, like some other like extremist branches of like various religions. Like every religion has it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna call one out, specifically.
Because I feel like the dialogue that they shared was really important, because a lot of the information we've been getting in this series is through action, but now it's sort of slowed down a little bit. We had some dialogue, and I think it was really important, but a part of me also feels some kind of like disconnect from it, so I'm not really sure what the message was supposed to be, because like what I got from it was that you shouldn't always believe in one thing, because something else might come along to change your mind. And I got the sense that in comparing Mando and Mayfeld at that moment, Mayfeld has a lot more freedom. Even though he's the one in prison, he knows who he is, what he believes in, and he's not really restricted by a creed, that doesn't allow him to show his face, if that makes sense.
He's like spiritually and morally free.
Yeah.
So I think though, like Mayfeld said something specifically. I don't remember the line verbatim, but he was like, the rules really seem to change for you, like on a moment to moment kind of basis. And I think that was the importance of that. He was kind of calling him out on that. Right. That, he's pointing out, backhandedly this character development, but he's also calling him out, being like, if you really belong to this creed, you're being a little hypocritical by changing the rules and doing this and having a kid that isn't even, human, and doing all this other stuff. So I think that's where the importance of that really lies. Because he was like, there's a line that everyone doesn't cross until the situation calls for it. Right. And Mando's definitely at that point, or past that point, honestly. Right.
I felt okay. So we have this refinery on Morak. And for the Empire, do they just let these pirates attack their transports all the time? That doesn't feel very Empire-ish.
So I think to a point that I've made before, that the Empire is still it's in shambles. Like, they want to claim like the Empire is coming back, but to be real, it's not the leading power. It is kind of, dirt under the rug, but they're still somewhat in shambles. But I guess it is kind of, I don't know. I didn't think too much about that past that, because I just got a thought that like they still do attack the pirates at some point. So I don't know if it's like,
but only when the transport got close enough to their actual refinery did they attack them.
That's true.
Also, that whole scene, very Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Very. I was watching them get run over by the truck's wheels, and I was like, Indiana Jones? Indiana Jones?
You're just like singing the thing in your head.
I know. I was like waiting for Indiana Jones to make an appearance. I mean, the only thing I can think of in that transport scene is to show, like, you're showing Mando in all these fight scenes over the past 3 episodes. And you're showing that because it kind of shows what he's got, that he has what it takes to come head to head with Gideon. Because you can see he physically can do these fight scenes and win.
He's resilient.
Yeah, but the question is, like, will he win? Because we haven't seen Gideon do any of these physical scenes yet. Mm-hmm. It also shows, like, how brave he is. I think the whole season has been setting up, Mando's courage, especially when he's facing danger alone. Like in the Bo-Katan episode, he goes out by himself and basically takes all these, blaster bullets to the chest to throw the bombs and, secure a pathway for the rest of the Mandalorians. And, here when he's lost all his weapons basically, and then
he's putting his fists up as like 5 of the other transports are like coming in to kick his ass.
Yeah, so I think it really shows a lot of character for him. And I think it might set up a scene in the finale. So we'll see what that is. But I think that might be the only... That's the only thing I can think of for this transport scene. Yeah. Because luckily, when episodes are so short, it's kind of easier to see the writing and what they're trying to do with it.
Yeah.
So that's what I picked up from it. I don't know if you picked up anything different.
I mean, I see that, and I picked it up a little bit. A lot of it, kind of like I said earlier, with it feeling like a video game. Like, the enemies just keep on coming. You're just like, oh, my fingers are tired. Like, I'm button mashing. Oh,
that's me. I'm a button masher.
But it just like keeps coming, and you're just like, oh, this is exhausting. Mm-hmm. And like you're mentally exhausted, and I could see how that definitely feeds into his resilience, like, spiritually. Mm-hmm. And that is very Mandalorian. I know, like, probably, like, racially, physically, he's not Mandalorian, but in spirit, as like Mandalore,
like their
being
courage.
being like a culture, mm-hmm. Just like being American or whatever. Like, you don't, pretty much everybody is not, from here, like, when you trace it all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah. But
it's like it's more of a spiritual kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I'll just leave that there.
Yeah. So we see when Mando's trying to get this information on Moff Gideon's location, he has to physically scan his face into, like, the database. And so that means that since he scanned his face, he's now in the Empire's data system. Yeah. And I feel like that might have a lot of consequences for the future.
Oh, for sure. Like, when I was watching that, he kind of took it off and he showed his face, but there's, like, other people around. Mm-hmm. Because,
and, like not only that, he's willingly, like, giving his face to, like, this group.
To the Empire. Yeah. To an extremist, like, a space Nazi group, which I don't think was in the database. I think it was just, like, his name, mm-hmm. and, like, some basic information.
I don't understand why you had to scan your face in the first place. Is it so they know, like, a human is trying to access it and not, like, a droid or something?
I guess. I don't know. I have no idea, because I don't think that's been done in...
Because usually droids are just, like, insert their little tools into, like, little import things, and they just get all the data they need.
Did he not have a...
Well, he had, like, a data stick, but, like, to actually get into the information, they had to scan his face.
Yeah. So I'm not sure.
It's just frustrating. Yeah, okay, I'll get back to this later because I'm going to say it at the end, but I feel like this could set up Din Djarin, the Mandalorian that we know in this series. It might set him up to leave, actually. At least for a small portion, anyways. So we've seen Mayfeld in season 1 as a previous mm-hmm. character. Probably not the most well-liked character or even the most well-liked episode of the whole thing. But in this episode, I really liked his character. I liked how we saw a human side of him. I think it was pretty relatable. This whole episode it was very reminiscent of like the Vietnam War. And, I think Mayfield says a few lines that a majority of Americans believe about the Vietnamese war now. That basically it was a waste of a war. A waste of people and a waste of time and money and everything. Mm-hmm. A waste of resources.
Yeah, there's definitely there's a big leap for Mayfeld as a character. Because I agree, I didn't really like him all that much in chapter 6, was it? Chapter 6. I love that episode, but like I didn't like any of those other characters, but I also thought that was because I wasn't supposed to. So when they said he was coming back, I was like, okay, we'll see.
I didn't even know he was coming back until like the trailer dropped or something.
Well, in the episode. I'm forgetting the chapter numbers, but it's not as important. But when they showed that he was going to come back, I just kind of rolled my eyes a little bit, honestly. But like, Bill Burr did really good performance-wise, which you always have to give credit to, especially if they're not like actors, because he's more of a stand-up comedian.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's why I said to you, I'm like, I'm not a huge Bill Burr fan, like little doses here and there, but like he did a fantastic job, I think. I give him lots of credit there. And then his character had some like pretty real moments. Like he said some things that like I said out loud. I'm just like, yeah, you tell him. Like
you tell that officer.
Like you sit there and you just like ponder, you're like, yeah, you know what? He's got a point. So I actually do like that. Mm-hmm. And I know there's something about him becoming a likable character that you're not so happy about in the end result.
Oh, yeah. I'll get to that in a few minutes. So I know that Mayfield has like a grievance with the Empire, which we find out during this episode. But I think the fact that he blew up the whole factory was to protect Mando's identity. Because basically, like, he had his helmet off for like 30 minutes, maybe more, in real time if you're actually in the episode. And I feel like not only did he blow up the factory because, he hates the Empire and like what he was forced to be put through by being with the Empire, but also because like he basically killed everyone who could have seen Mando's face and protected like his creed in a way.
Yeah. So I don't think the blowing up the factory was necessarily for Mando. Maybe it was like an afterthought, but I think when he started like shooting everybody else, which was he had a few like physical moments.
Yeah.
That were just like, all right, this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was more for that, and then of course like in the moment.
I do think
I definitely think the blowing up of the factory was like his own grievance.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was also like the people that he was like staring out the window, and he, again, back to some of the really deep points that he makes, is like kind of playing on both sides and actually like doing the dirty work. Be like, Empire, New Republic, Old Republic, it's all just power to them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that was kind of like his own like sticking it to the Empire,
to the man,
sticking it to the man.
Yeah. So based off of the ending, we can hypothesize that Mayfield will probably be in the new spin-off show Rangers of the New Republic.
Maybe.
And I was not happy with how this ended, because like you guys have heard me say how I don't like how quote unquote main characters only show up for like a limited amount of screen time.
They become throwaway characters.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I mean, because they just let him go, which is like I can appreciate it because he was like a prisoner and they're not sending him back to prison. Like I can appreciate that, but like Mando, you need a group to get your baby back, and this episode has proven that Mayfield would be a very good asset. Like he's good in a fight, he's a good shot, and they just let him walk away. Like.
I thought when Kara said, I think Mayfield died in that in the refinery explosion. Mm-hmm. I thought for a split second that they were gonna kill him.
Savage.
Yeah.
That'd be so savage.
Yeah. Well, because like he saw Mando without his face.
Mm-hmm.
So aside from his face being in the database, I thought like for a second that he was gonna hold a grudge on that, but I guess like he completely is just like,
He's
yeah.
yeah.
But I would have loved to have seen Mayfeld like turn around and be like, you know what, I think I'm gonna join you guys.
Yeah.
Like you seem like a pretty okay crew.
Yeah, I know that there's like a possibility he might come back in the next episode, but for like pacing and like time constraint would not make sense.
Yeah.
Because unless this next episode is like an hour long, it just like he's just gonna show up on the ship like right before they leave. Like, oh, I thought about it. Like you could have thought about it right then and there, and it would have made so much more sense.
Well, even if you had it like a last minute thing, because like this episode was. Like, the last one was only, like, 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. 30 and some change. Mm-hmm. So it still would have been okay to, like, have a beat where they're flying away. And he either, like, contacts them back or hijacks, like, a TIE fighter. And he's like, I think I'm going to join you. Like, that would have been okay. Like, that would have still held a certain level of suspense that is also, like... gratifying in the end result. Mm-hmm. But like also he was a very redeemed character, and now he's a very liked character, so everything that I had assumed the first time I saw him and everything that I thought the first time I saw him, it was like like this, I actually like him as a character now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so do I.
I think that's the most frustrating part of it. Like with Fennec Shand, bringing her back, I'm ecstatic. Mm-hmm. The aesthetic for it, is
I
a
also
little weird,
love the actress, so I'm glad that she gets.
She's so awesome. She was the original voice of Mulan, right?
Yes, she was the 1998 animated Mulan,
which is so cool. But
she also had a cameo in the live action as well. She looked gorgeous, and she was the best part about the live action. Well, tabling that for another podcast, because you will hear it. You will hear about it.
I still have to see it. But yeah, I'm glad that they brought her back and that they have her also in the Bad Batch, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Mm-hmm. But like this is that kind of stuff. Like you keep those characters because they're like, even though they have like such a small amount of time, there's some of them can still be really interesting.
Yeah, like
I don't just think, use it as a spin-off.
Yeah, like so I did think that like the whole like, oh, you see these characters here, and then they actually come back at the very end for this big, and so they come back for this big climax. I kind of liked that, but you're kind of following the same pattern in season 2, and if you're gonna follow that in season 3, it's gonna get kind of old, like I'm kind of sick and tired of this pattern, but whatever. Some people might like it, and if you do, all the more power to you. I personally do not.
Well, it feels very stop and go.
Yeah, which I don't like.
Yeah.
So the very end of this episode, Mando recites the exact same message that Gideon said to him, and I got like chills all the time. I've watched this 3 times now, and every time it's just chills, absolute chills.
The smirk, the first time I saw it, it went ear to ear. I love that so much.
And then Gideon's like, "What have I done?"
Like his mustache like drooped all the way down to his chin.
Oh, yeah, so the overall pacing for the storyline, not great to me. And it kind of has me worried. There's a part of me that is hopeful because, this is by Dave and John. And they basically, like, they are Star Wars. But we also have to remember that over them is Disney. And, Disney likes to get their hands in things that it shouldn't necessarily have their hands in.
Well, they like to put their hands in things and then go... whoosh, and you can't see, but I just threw my hands in all directions.
Right.
So.
And then, like I said earlier, there are hints that set up Boba Fett to be a new main character in Mando season 3, and I'm gonna be upset if that happens, because he's not my favorite character. I know a lot of people love him. If you do, I'm happy that you love him. I personally don't. I think he's interesting now. But I was never, I never watched the prequels or original Star Wars just for Boba Fett,
Yeah.
You know, and the hints are like his armor got super spruced up. Like it looks brand new basically. And he has all these awesome gadgets, you know, more so than Mando. Like, he has that seismic charge on his ship and he has those knee pad dart things.
Like, they're like wrist rockets, but
for his knees. And like his chain code in the last episode.
Kneecap snappers.
Oh, that's a good one. But his
mine too.
But his chain code in the last episode, like, it specifically went on to prove a point that he was a real Mandalorian.
Yeah. Which also trails back to
his father.
Legends. Well, Legends. There's a whole story in Legends that I don't think they're gonna make that exact one canon, or at least they're not gonna like call it, you know, specifically, or maybe left to like assume. Kind of like a lot of the Old Republic or Knights of the Old Republic stuff that has shown up in this, and then in Rebels too. But it basically followed the same like basic structure, and Star Wars Theory actually does a really good analysis of it, because he'll recite like parts of the comic.
And so like now that Mando has shown his face and like in the system, he has the potential to be tracked and like, you know, hunted. And his life as a bounty hunter, you know, which is what he was, it's pretty much over. You know, because like anyone, if they have the right, you know, data, they can recognize him and they can turn him over. And and we know that Grogu, he loves Mando and he's afraid of losing him. So I think we may see Mando leave the story. I'm not sure how, and I hope he won't. I really hope he won't. But you know, these new side shows going on with Ahsoka, which I am admittedly very excited for because I love her, and you know, the Rangers of the New Republic, they're pushing the plot lines from Mando, I feel like, onto these new shows. Because like Ahsoka, she's going to have the Thrawn plot, and you know, possibly will also lead to Ezra. You know, that could coincide with whatever Jedi heard Grogu's call. You know, it might be Ezra, it might not be. You know, I don't know.
Could be Luke.
Could be Luke. Could be someone who we never even heard of before.
That's also true.
And yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the Rangers will play into the Mando storyline. You know, I know that Cara is going to be in it, and now maybe based off of what we've seen on Friday, Mayfeld. But these shows are going to have like an Avengers level crossover. So like I feel like these three plot lines are going to connect at the end. But my concern is like what meat is left for Mando. Because I know we have the Darksaber and Bo-Katan trying to find it. So I'm hoping that Mando is still a main character in season 3. And if they're keeping Boba, then it would be like the 3 different Mandalorian clans uniting, which is what the ultimate goal for Bo-Katan is, to unite all of Mandalore.
Yeah. I don't think they'll write him off the show. Because it's the Mandalorian. Like, he is the main character.
Well, yeah, but
I don't think they're going to write him off the show. I think at some point, you know, like maybe it'll be season 3. I don't know. I don't know if they know yet either. But at some point, like when Din Djarin's story is done being told, that is the end of the Mandalorian. So that is whatever finale comes with the series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would not. It's just like how everybody thought that Ahsoka was going to be a main character in this. They're like, she's going to die in the Mandalorian. I'm like, absolutely not. That is so inappropriate for the character.
Mm-hmm.
That is like it's disrespectful to the character. It makes no sense in the whole storytelling process. So for Mando to either die or exile or whatever, that has to be like, that belongs to the Mandalorian. It doesn't make sense anywhere else.
Yeah, well, you could also argue that like because the show is called The Mandalorian, you know, Din is not the only Mandalorian. So you could also argue that. I personally, like, I'm not trying to.
I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna hand off, though. Is what I'm saying. Like, mm-hmm. it wouldn't, in sense of the name, sure, yeah. In sense of some of the extended lore, yeah, that makes sense. But in the sense of this particular story with this particular protagonist, I don't think it would make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I hope he stays. Like, I'm over his character arc, like I've started to like I really like Din Djarin, and of course Grogu. You know, who doesn't love him? But I'll be so upset if he leaves, and I'm hoping he doesn't. But the reason why is because there was a rumor going around, about Pedro Pascal's discontent, because I think what I heard was that he's upset that he is not really showing his face as much as he might want, and there was talk about he might leave the show altogether. So, which I feel like if that is true, there's kind of a part of me that's like, well, you should have known what you signed, like what you made a contract for.
Yeah.
And
that being said, like he signed a contract, so you can't exactly just leave and then not have financial repercussions. And then there's the whole issue with being like blackballed in Hollywood. So I think that's probably where they've started to go with this. Like you see it, with him taking his helmet off willingly. I think maybe that is like, maybe we have to change the storyline, but we're going to make it make sense.
Right. Yeah.
So,
but even so, like I know he's he's getting a lot more, he's like an up and coming star. Like he was pretty big, but he's getting bigger. But I feel like, to be an actor, you don't always like your face doesn't always have to be seen. Like this could be a chance for him to work on his vocals, his voice acting, and even like his body language. Like there are other things besides just facial expressions and seeing your face for acting.
That's true.
And so if he is upset about not having his face shown, like I feel like he should take the opportunity to, perfect some of these other skills that are involved in acting.
I mean, that makes sense. And then you also do have to, credit the actors though. So like think about voice actors, right? I have not, to my recollection, I have never seen someone like Grey Griffin, like physically in a movie or a TV show. I love her voice. I hear her voice everywhere. It is easily distinguishable because like that's her thing. Her thing is voice acting.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal, I don't think he thinks his thing is voice acting, so I understand where that comes from. So,
Yeah, I mean I understand, but like, it's something that he can work on if he wants to.
Yeah. This is getting a little too much in a hot take. But to segue off of direction, there has been a couple of posts and hypotheses going out looking at the map where Gideon is.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, again, shout out to Star Wars Theory, who I think had, the most recognition out of it. And he said he spent like hours trying to locate it. And it looks like, I don't remember the names of the planets exactly. Because it's not very precise. They didn't really hone in on the specific system. They just highlighted that particular system.
Right.
So everyone's thoughts, I think, are that Gideon is headed to Camino, unless he's headed to a completely different planet. Because Camino is in that system. So one thing that Theory threw out was that either he's going to go to a different system and then from there, maybe hop over to Camino, or he's just going to jump straight into a hyperspace lane.
Right.
That
actually
leads to...
My guest last episode, Charles, he actually asked me a question. He's like, do you think we're going to go to Camino?
Yeah.
Which would make sense because that's like a cloning facility.
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to do.
And unfortunately, we're not going to Mandalore this season. That's pretty obvious. I would love to go to Mandalore for... maybe whatever the final season is. Maybe that's like the big bang is we're going back to Mandalore, which would make a lot of sense. But like in terms of that map, yeah, Mandalore is like way north, like galactic north. So it actually makes a lot of sense based off of that map that it's Camino.
Well, we still have that Bo-Katan storyline. So I think we will one day see Mandalore. If it's in season 3 or another show or a future season. It goes beyond
the third season. It'd be nice. Yeah, it'd be nice to go to Mandalore during The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But
it's a perfect show
for it. We'll see.
Yeah. Do you think Bo-Katan will show up in the season finale? Because I think Mando.
I don't know who's going to show up really because, like we've kind of talked about till we're both blue in the face is the pacing. So this could have been their intention because they're trying to just like get everybody's expectations just like so scattered. Because mine are just so, I don't like to dwell on theories too much, but like I can't even guess.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I can't even guess. So I have a feeling maybe it was like for the sake of this finale. And maybe I hope it's a really long episode that covers everything that they need to cover.
Me too.
Because the last 2 episodes I definitely feel could have been paced a little bit faster and then combined.
Right.
But I don't know. We'll see in a couple of days.
Yeah. I feel like if she does show up, it'll not be because she's going specifically like to help Mando. I think it'll be because
for the Darksaber.
Yeah, and so she'll just kind of show up at the same time, which I feel like might be a poor plot convenience. Because I feel like Mando needs like a group to help Grogu, and so, he'll help Bo, and then she'll help him. But I feel like them showing up at the same time might be like
problematic.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see. We shall see.
We will see. Well, that is basically what the entire episode was. So now
reeled in the Mandalorian.
Yeah, I forgot to say that last episode. So chapters 14 and 15 of the Mandalorian
have been reeled
they've
in.
been reeled in. So what day was it? Well, sometime last week we got Thursday we had Disney's Investor Day, and we basically got some future stuff for basically all fandoms except Harry Potter, because Disney does not own
everything
that
that
yet.
Disney owns, everything that is a subsidiary, of Disney, was announced on Thursday for investors, and then they had it live streamed for people to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'll start with
stuff we didn't get to see, which has me like.
I know, but that was specifically for the investors.
I know.
Okay, I'll start with the Star Wars one, since we're kind of originally on the topic. We have Rogue Squadron coming out, which is the next Star Wars feature film. It's directed by Patty Jenkins, who did the Wonder Woman franchise. So she's a good director, so I'm hoping it might be good. The story will introduce a new generation of starfighter pilots as they earn their wings and risk their lives in a boundary-pushing, high-speed thrill ride and move the saga into the future era of the galaxy. So that's coming out, I think, in theaters Christmas 2023. I've never been a big fan of like all the star pilots, so I'm not sure how I feel about that. They're talking about I guess the future of Star Wars is kind of what it makes it sound like.
Oh, so they're like resistance or whatever they're calling themselves.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of like
resistance squadrons kind of thing.
I don't know, but I think they're trying to like. I feel like what Disney or Lucasfilms is trying to do with this
to segue into new
is like a new era of Star Wars. I think is what they're trying to do.
Yep.
So we'll see how that comes out.
Because supposedly they put a hold on whatever next trilogy they were working on.
Thank God. Anyways, so
pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah. So we have Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's officially a title, Obi-Wan Kenobi, because we didn't know the title. The series begins 10 years after the dramatic events of Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith, where he faced his greatest defeat, the downfall and corruption of his best friend and Jedi apprentice, Anakin Skywalker, who turned evil, Lord Darth Vader. The series is directed by Deborah Chow, who helmed the memorable episodes of The Mandalorian in Season 1. This will truly be a day long remembered, as it was confirmed that Hayden Christensen will be returning as Darth Vader. Kathleen Kennedy said that they're going to have a rematch of the century with, I'm guessing, a lightsaber duel. I kind of wish she didn't say that, because what if it's not great? The lightsaber duel.
Well, first of all, to have those expectations, but in what context? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Because supposedly, unless they're redoing that fight in episode 4, that supposedly was the first time that they had actually like been in the same vicinity with each other, because there's the whole thing like or Ben Kenobi is on the Death Star with Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie, and he senses him. He says, "I sense a presence that I haven't felt since," and then he leaves. and then there's the whole confrontation. And when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. Like, that was supposed to be the first time that they have actually physically been in the same space since, the duel of Mustafar. So I don't know.
Also,
I was not one of the people who was like crying and begging for this, to be honest, because at least in like Legends, there's like a handful of adventures that Obi-Wan has gone on. I don't remember the.
but he's mainly supposed to have stayed on Tatooine. So unless Darth Vader makes his way to Tatooine somehow,
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Which wouldn't make a lot of sense with. Well, so Vader actually does go to Tatooine in the Vader comics, and he interacts with Jabba the Hutt, and so I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it, but I didn't ask for this one because like I was about to say, like, there's not a whole lot that Obi-Wan can do. There was like a quick adventure in one of the old Legends books that I actually have. I just don't remember the name of it. It's been so long since I read it, but like he had a confrontation with Boba Fett and like one of the last Jedi, but he did planet hop for a little bit. But I don't think it was by choice, to my recollection. I think it was kind of an accident.
Right.
And he was just looking for another Jedi to help him protect Luke. God, I don't remember his name. Oh well. But yeah, like that was kind of it. There's not like a whole lot, and like the comics covered it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just worried, based on Kathleen's words, that like there's a thing this generation that's like you're telling us, but you're not showing us. I think that's what a lot of the Disney Star Wars sequels was, a lot of telling and not showing. So will it be? It might look cool, as like a lightsaber fight, but what will the purpose of it be?
Yeah.
So only time will tell. And then we have, of course, Rangers of the New Republic. It's set within the timeline of The Mandalorian. It's a new live-action series from executive producers Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. It will intersect with future stories and culminate into a climatic story event with both The Mandalorian and the new show Ahsoka. So with Ahsoka, after making her long-awaited live-action debut, Ahsoka Tano's story, written by Dave Filoni, will also continue in a limited series starring Rosario Dawson and executive produced by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. And it's going to have the same climactic event. So I'm excited for that one. I love Ahsoka. Not super excited about Rangers because I'm honestly not really certain what they could do.
Yeah. And I also feel, in the grand scheme of things, it's a little too late. Because the sequels already came out. Everybody's already kind of confused, if I'm being honest.
Right.
I'm not trying to sound like a hater. I'm really not. I mean, from a story sense, like, there just was not a whole lot of forethought. And I think there was a lot of pussyfooting around things. And it's just kind of messy. Like, all this stuff, I feel, should have come first. And I get it, Disney Plus was not ready to launch, but like, if you had the Clone Wars, you can put it on Disney XD. You still had Rebels going on. Rebels could have been the thing. Like, the Clone Wars, we didn't have any new films when the Clone Wars was actively going on, and I think George was still thinking about 7, 8, and 9, like his versions of 7, 8, and 9, but like he wasn't ready to launch them. He wasn't even finished like writing the first script. So I feel like there should have been a lot more forethought. And to give credit to Marvel, which we'll also touch on with all of their stuff, they, of course, have a huge repertoire of films. Some are better than others, of course. That's always going to happen. But like, there's still a lot of forethought. There's still a lot of like planning. And I also think that, to my knowledge, it sounds like Kevin Feige actually has a lot of creative control and a lot of creative input with the saga, which I think really helps with the overall storytelling. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I saw all the things that Star Wars was coming out with, and I got a little overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so much.
I got overwhelmed by how underwhelmed I was, if I'm being honest. Like Ahsoka, I'm excited for because I think that's the story that everybody, like Rebels fans, is like, we're gonna get the satisfaction for. We're gonna get some of the answers for.
One that I am kind of excited for because I am a dark side lover. I'm a villain lover. It's the Acolyte. The is going to bring us a new Star Wars series. The Acolyte is a mystery thriller that will take the audience into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. I'm kind of excited because, I think even with all these shows and movies of Star Wars, I feel like the dark side is still kind of like a mystery to people.
Yeah.
So will this give us answers? Who knows? I hope so. I love learning about the dark side. So we'll see what happens.
And they're remapping that whole era too, so it'll be interesting to see.
It will. We have a new Untitled film by Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
So I don't think we know much about it, but I know that his approach will be fresh, unexpected, and unique. He's a good director. He did Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So then we have Andor, it follows a storyline, I guess, of Cassian Andor, who was in Rogue One. And a tense, nail-biting spy thriller created by Tony Gilroy. It's set to arrive in 2022. Diego Luna is reprising his role of the rebel spy Cassian Andor from Rogue One. He will be joined by a fantastic new cast that includes Stellan Skarsgård, Adria Arjona, Fiona Shaw, and a bunch of other people. And they started production 3 weeks ago in London.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it to support Diego Luna, but I'm not really sure how this is going to go or how good it's going to be. And then they have The Bad Batch coming out, which, The Bad Batch in the Clone Wars was fun, but I didn't think we needed a spin-off of them.
No, I didn't either. And I think... Keep going.
Okay. The series follows the elite and experimental clones of the Bad Batch, which was introduced in the Clone Wars, as they find their way in a rapidly changing galaxy in the immediate aftermath of the Clone Wars. So the members of the Bad Batch, who vary genetically from their other brothers in the clone army, each possess a singularly exceptional skill, which makes them extraordinarily effective soldiers and a formidable crew. In the post-Clone War era, they will take on daring mercenary missions as they struggle to stay afloat and find a new purpose.
And it's still in the Clone Wars style, too, which I think is what's really honestly getting a lot of people excited.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people really love the clones.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Clone Wars did a good job about giving, each one a personality and making them human, not just clones.
And credit to G. Bradley Baker, who voices all, 100,000 of them.
Yeah.
Again, give credit where it is definitely due, I mean, I like some of the clones. I love Rex, actually. I like Rex. Yeah, a lot of the 501st, I think, are the only clones that I can, really back behind character-wise and be like, you know what, you're all right. So, Rex, Fives, rest in peace.
Cody
is not part of the 501st.
He's not? Oops.
He is part of the 212. He's Obi-Wan.
Oh.
Obi-Wan's commander.
Oh.
No, Fives, even top Rex, I'm missing another one. Oh, well. If I'm forgetting, it's not that important. Oh, sorry. I love Rex, though.
And then we have Lando. Everyone's favorite scoundrel. I thought everyone's favorite scoundrel was Han Solo. But
you're writing history there.
But Lando Calrissian will return in a brand new event series for Disney, created by Justin Simeon. Will be, I think, a big part of developing the story. I've heard this is supposed to be a Solo 2. I'm not sure if that rumor is credited as being accurate, but there we go. Okay, so now that's all that's coming out for Star Wars. We got some Marvel. We have a lot of Marvel that was originally announced at Comic-Con, but was re-announced on Thursday. So we have, and I don't have a synopsis of them, I just have the title names. But we have Ironheart, Armor Wars, Eternals, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, WandaVision, super excited,
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
They have a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming.
What's the Quantumania? Is that Ant-Man and the Wasp? Quantumania? Yes, it is.
Remember.
It is. There's a Fantastic Four, a new one. Loki, Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, What If, Hawkeye, a Christmas special for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Which will be something.
I Am Groot, Thor, Love and Thunder, Black Widow, Blade, Miss Marvel, Black Panther 2, She-Hulk, Moon Knight, Captain Marvel 2, and Secret Invasion. And also Spider-Man 3, but everyone already knew about that.
Well, that's like Disney Sony.
Oh, yeah.
That's like part of the... So I don't think that was...
I am excited for everything. I know that they're, in most of these, they're including a more diverse cast, which I'm happy about. Some of them are... Oh, you're saying that to yourself.
Yeah. Because there's so many I forgot. Because there's some I'm more excited about than others. There's some that we might just brush over.
But the closest ones coming out are WandaVision.
Which is like a couple weeks away.
January 15th. I'm really excited because...
Got our second trailer.
Oh, we did, yeah. Because, you know, I know her and Doctor Strange. Something's going to go down.
Yeah, I'm excited. There was a little bit more suspenseful.
Some more meat in there.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Like there was like a weird like.
We got a lot of glitching in the Matrix.
Like glitching in the Matrix, which I mean, we saw some of that in the first one, in the first teaser.
Yeah. Well, I think the first teaser was like, this is going to be a comedy show. And then the second one was like, actually.
And that's what I was worried about originally. Because they announced it and they're marketing it as a sitcom. But I feel like they're falsely marketing it.
Yeah.
And this is just like
trying to trick you.
Yeah. To subvert your expectations. Kind of like how they did with Infinity War. So Infinity War, they showed a lot of footage. Endgame, they showed a lot of certain parts of it in like the trailers. So I feel a lot of the sitcom stuff, a lot of the comedy stuff, I feel like a lot of that is it. Yeah. And there's a whole nother section that they have not even begun to crack the surface on, which, you know, is good marketing, because it would be really nice to be surprised. But it definitely looks a little more like a comedy thriller almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is also marketed as a bit of a thriller, which I'm glad. I'm glad that, you know, Marvel is exploring this new genre, because, you know, usually it's like the typical action superhero movies, you know. Yeah. But with this, even Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, like that's supposed to be
like a horror.
A horror, yeah. So I like scary movies. I like being scared. I'm really, and that's why one of the reasons why I'm really excited for this.
It's funny, you're ahead of me on that one, because you used to not be, but
yeah.
I was worried because I really like Scarlet Witch. I really like Wanda, so I was really worried that they were just gonna kind of throw her away for a little bit, or like put her on the side as like a comedy. I'm like, she deserves better than that, and she definitely does, and I think that she's gonna get it. And there were some glimpses, I think, of her powers. I think that's what if you watch like the sizzle trailer, there was like a big wall of like red something or other, and I'm like,
yeah. Well, we kind of see her, what looks like her manipulating the Mind Stone, and I think all these glitches that we're seeing might be because of what she's done with it.
Yeah.
Because I think she's in like an alternate reality in a way, because I think she envisioned her trying to hide from whoever.
Yeah. Well, I think it will also it'll write him back into the MCU, which would be nice.
Yeah, I like Vision a lot. So
I like Vision, and I love Paul Bettany.
Yeah, and Vision and Wanda are my favorite MCU couple, so...
That'll be exciting.
Mm-hmm. We got, I think, a more in-depth trailer of What If. And even though it's animated, I think it looks really good.
I am so excited. I think that beside WandaVision, I think that is the one that I had like the most like visceral reaction of. And like I saw leaks of like some little images in here and there when Comic-Con
first debuted.
Yeah, when it debuted at Comic-Con last year. And like one of them wasn't too much of a surprise, because like I said, I did see it. But I am so excited to see where they take T'Challa as Star-Lord.
Oh yeah.
Like seeing the whole thing and like having it mapped out a little bit more, like it had me like really excited. And I was like, yeah.
He was such a cute little kid. It's like, what were you doing? I was just exploring. Such a child.
There's a couple things in this show that I think are going to be just absolutely just mind-blowing.
I'm here for Peggy Carter as England, Captain
Britain or something like that.
Miss England.
I don't know if there's like a name in Legends or if they've revealed anything.
Does Marvel have a Legends?
Yeah. Oh. All their old stuff.
Oh, okay.
The original comics. Yeah, the original comics.
Oh. I am excited for Doctor Strange because I feel like so far we have not seen the true extent of his powers, and either in the Multiverse of Madness or in this What If, I think we're gonna see him do some hot stuff. You know, Dark Strange versus regular Strange.
I am here for it.
We got a little glimpse of it in the trailer, and I'm here for it.
And him like blasting on his like time powers. Like
yes.
you get a taste of it, and it's one of my favorite scenes in the film, in Infinity War, when he's taking on Thanos by himself, and he's using his like time sorcerer magic and his like that was epic. So
well even in his standalone first film, the way he defeated his enemy Dormammu, it was a little weird. Like he just kind of like killed himself a bunch of different times until Dormammu was like got sick and tired of it. Yeah, so
kept hitting the reset button.
Yeah, so I think I'm excited to see his actual powers.
That and so there's Doctor Strange, which will be really cool. I don't know if we heard him in the trailer, so I don't know if Benedict Cumberbatch came back for that. I know a lot of the original voice talent, so like T'Challa, it definitely at least sounds like Chadwick Boseman. Samuel L. Jackson, you cannot, imitate that.
Yeah,
that's very distinguishable. And Yondu, Michael Rooker. I'm so excited for that. I'm like that. Those arcs. I'm so excited for it.
We might also get like a new villain. I think.
Oh, what was he called?
I'm not sure. Okay, well, the way it played out, the voiceover called himself the Watcher when the image of this new like shadowy figure showed up. So I'm assuming that's what he's called because of the way it all played out. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but.
I feel like he'll probably be like the instrument of why everything is the way it is, but he'll probably end up being like the actual villain. Maybe. We'll see. I'm just very excited for it.
I'm excited. I'm a little hesitant because a lot of this new stuff involves like alternate realities and time travel.
You don't like time travel?
I don't like time travel because you can easily mess it up. Like it can go really well, but it can also go really bad. Kind
of like Endgame.
Yeah.
It was it was very confusing and a little lazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm excited for everything, but I'm also kind of hesitant. And
that being said, we'll see where Loki goes.
Yes, he's in the Time Variance, not Association, it's Administration. Time Variance Administration.
The TVA.
That one looks really good. That's also another thriller that they're doing, so I'm really excited. I think the basis of the show you can actually see in the actual Loki logo because you see like a character from every Marvel title show up in the Loki one. So I feel like he's going to be visiting all the different timelines or alternate realities of every other movie that we've seen from the MCU.
I'm wondering if they'll delve into that version of time travel, which I hope they do, and I hope they explain it, or even if they change it, just so it makes a little more sense. Because this is one of the only like concepts of time that really stands out as time not being linear. Literally everything else has been linear. And then this one is like subjective. It's like, so I think you put it better than I could.
How they were like, if you go back in time, nothing actually changes as long as you put whatever you took back, which does not make sense at all.
Yeah.
Literally, if you step on a fly in like a different alternate reality or time, like that can alter the past and future and present and anything.
Like it still alters that timeline, that multiverse, but yours also still stays the same. Like if you go back in time, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I know. Timeline's very confusing. So those are the most up and coming things. I think we should save the other ones for when they get a bit closer.
Yeah, because there's not as much.
Because the others are like 2022, year 2023. Yeah, and we got some more Pixar stuff. The closest one coming out, I think, on Christmas is Soul. It's directed by the people who did Coco and Inside Out and another movie that I can't remember right now. But I cried so hard in those two movies that I know this Soul movie, I need to watch it with a box of tissues. Like the actual like trailer came out where it gives us a bit more in depth of the storyline, and I was already crying during the trailer. So I'm really excited for that. You know, I love Pixar. I love animated movies, especially ones that just are written really well, which I think most Pixar movies are.
Well, they have a lot of depth and like emotion into their writing. So even some of the ones that aren't, you know, all that great are still pretty great. Like it's really not saying much when you say that they're not great. It's just like in comparison to the others. But I'm glad that I saw the trailer for this because I didn't know too much about Soul, and I think I was still gonna watch it, but like I wasn't excited for it. But I think it's because they show like that whole opening scene, and it's. I don't know a whole lot of the synopsis, so maybe you can jump in at any time. But I know like the main character is like a music teacher.
Yeah.
He's like a jazz teacher.
That's a new, at least for me, that's a new piece of information. I thought he was actually like a musician. I didn't realize he was also like a teacher of what seems to be maybe a poorer school system than some people might have attended.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that Pixar does so well. It's, you know, they have like a criteria of like writing their movies. One, it's got to be like, you know, relatable. Even to me, like I love music, obviously.
Yeah,
I'm not
if it's
the
very
most
niche-y, like it's still very inclusive.
Yeah. So, and you know, I think everyone, you know, has some sort of connection to music, so that's relatable. And you know, one of their criteria, which I think is so important, and I think other you know, productions should kind of take on it, is for the main character, you should like them more for trying to do something than for actually succeeding in doing it. Yeah. And I think that's something that people can relate to all the time, because, you know, you might try something for the first time and you're not always going to succeed. You're not always going to be successful the first time you do it. So I think, you know, writing characters like that is a lot more relatable to your audience. And that's why they always connect with them and they feel deeply for their troubles and what they're trying to achieve.
They just have a lot of the right writers.
Yeah, you know, that's a lot of deep thought I feel like goes into this.
And a lot of it, I think, like you said, so like they did Coco and Inside Out.
Mm-hmm.
So
you haven't seen either of those.
I don't care for Inside Out.
Connor,
I will listen. I'll watch Coco.
Please watch Inside Out with me.
Let's watch. You know what? Let's watch Coco today.
Okay.
Tonight. When we're done with this, we're gonna watch.
You got some tissues?
No, but I got a couple bottles of wine. Anyway. So they, I don't know. They do a lot of really good stuff, and like some of this stuff, and you know, I'll segue it to you. There's a lot of other stuff that they have coming out, and I'm really excited for it because we also got to see some of it, but they just have such a reputation.
They do. They have, I almost said they have Coco, but that already came out. They have.
Well, they do.
They have Luca coming out, which unfortunately we didn't get to see the trailer for because that was specifically for the investors, but it's about an Italian, I think, family or an Italian child, you know, set in Italy. And I'm really excited. You know, part of my heritage is Italian. I'm second generation American on that side. My grandparents immigrated here from Italy. Fun fact about me. So I think both my mom and me will probably eventually see the movie, and I think it's gonna hit probably really deeply, more for her than will for me. But you know, I'm really excited for it. They have Disney coming out with a couple of things. I think Zootopia 2. I really liked Zootopia 1. But I also love all animations, really, so that's not saying much. So those are the stuff that is coming out. I am really excited. I hope you guys are excited as well, and it's going to give me more content to discuss with you guys. So that's about it. Thanks for joining in.